The reason why I shaved my head is for this job, actually, or a gig as it's called in the industry, playing a stunt double in this, well, for Tom Hanks, I should say, in this documentary style movie about a cancer patient. And it's basically Tom Hanks is playing this businessman who got cancer and now he's in the hospital. And his doctor is played by Brad Pitt. And the problem is that Brad doesn't really have his best interests in mind, because actually Brad's having this affair with Tom's wife. Tom has this very attractive young 17-year-old wife that he's been with for 5 or 6 years, and now he's like, lying in this hospital, shitting his bed, not being terribly sexy. And this is really, I have to say, hats off. It's a really Shakespearean performance by Tom Hanks. It's kind of like Falstaff doing King Lear, only instead of a young daughter who loves him, he's got a young wife who loves Brad Pitt. And the problem that Tom has is that, Dr. Brad, isn't really motivated to save his life, right? So, and actually neither is his wife. There's this scene on the day where she gets together with Brad physically for the first time. She has to keep going into these appointments, to get updates on her husband's cancer. And, Dr. Brad is this, he's a doctor and he's an authority figure, but he also has this boyish charm, and this youthful good looks and everything. And so, she eventually falls for him. And on the morning of the day when they first, when she first lets him bang her, there's this great scene where she's getting dressed in her sexiest underwear and stuff, lingerie as it's called. And like she has this pair of panties that Tom bought her once for her birthday with a little zipper on the backside, very naughty. And she's playing this song by Smog called Dress Sexy for My Funeral. And it's not really spelled out, but it's pretty obvious that she's kind of hoping that Tom hurries up and kicks the bucket so that she can live happily ever after with Dr. Brad on Tom's money. And so, this is how they got together. And then the thing is, Dr. Brad, he's the head of oncology at this hospital, and instead of giving Tom, something helpful like chemotherapy and radiation, all of the sort of tested, methods of healing, he keeps referring him to this naturopath, who's played by Nicolas Cage, as this kind of down on his luck, sketchy, sort of doc, this quack basically who keeps prescribing Tom vitamins, and he's got him on this vegan diet, and so that's why his hair's all fallen out, And anyway, due to all this quackery, Tom eventually has this sort of psychotic breakdown. Nicolas Cage, or Dr. Nicolas Cage, prescribes him this overdose of vitamin D3, and so Tom kind of goes psycho, and he escapes from the hospital room, and he manages to get dressed in his jeans and puts on a bomber jacket over his hospital gown, and he goes and finds his motorcycle and goes on this crazy motorcycle ride. And this is the whole reason why I got the job as a stuntman, because I'm not really a seasoned, stunt actor, but I am an avid motorcyclist, mainly since I can't afford a car. And this is really the only scene where I get to double for Tom. And so he grabs his motorbike and he goes off on this psychotic ride in the middle of the night, and the problem he's having, the additional problem he's having, he has a lot of problems already, but he's got this additional problem driving his motorbike because he used to have a rather full head of hair. In fact, he used to have kind of a Bob Ross thing going on with a very very full head of curly hair, kind of a white man's afro, you could say. which gives a touch of realism to the marriage thing, you know, like that's probably how he managed to land this sexy young wife, because he used to be kind of a cool dude, even though he was just a businessman. And now he doesn't have this hair, and so his helmet is way too big for him, and it keeps, you know, kind of bobbing down over his eyes, like the top rim of the helmet keeps half covering his eyes as he's driving. And so I had to, you know, obviously shave my head too, so that I could, you know, realistically portray this scene, even though I'm only in the panorama shots. And for the close-ups, you know, they've got Tom's face, you know, his Shakespearean quality acting, you know, mimicry, whatever you call it. And so, you know, this is why he has an accident. You know, the helmet keeps sort of covering his eyes, and he ends up hitting the curb and going flying. And he flies actually through this Taco Bell billboard. It's just a cardboard billboard, and he lands on the front lawn of this house. And this house happens to belong to another character in the movie, actually. It was played by Meryl Streep. And she plays this member of the board of the hospital who also used to have an affair with Brad Pitt, which ended kind of badly, however. But not before, you know, she'd helped him become the head of oncology. And then eventually, you know, Brad dumped her. And so, you know, Tom lands on her front lawn, and she takes pity on him, and she makes him tea, and they kind of have a talk. And there's kind of a little bit of vibes in the air, and you can sort of tell that maybe Tom's luck is starting to turn, you know. And she ends up, you know, helping him, and she gets him into the proper, you know, chemo and radiation therapy, and saves his life, you know. Like that's why he gets better, and they end up falling in love, you know, at the end of the movie. So yeah, that's why this documentary style movie actually manages to pull off a happy end, which is great.